Good evening. Good evening. We have Ransi and Safran in the house today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 5th episode of Ask Grit for this month. And we are here yet again to answer all of your questions related to property investment in Australia. So my name is Ransi. I am joined here with my colleague Safran.
Hi.
And the main man himself, Navin De Silva, who is based in Melbourne. So just a little bit about Grit Property. We are a property investment company and we specialize in the end-to-end property investment process. So before we dive into the questions, I'd like to shed some light on the fact that Sri Lanka flew their first flight out to Melbourne just a few days ago. Is that right, Navin?
That's right. That's right.
What are your thoughts on it?
I think Sri Lankan Airlines was the first flight to land after COVID, which was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, how is this going to help our clients, Navin?
Ability to fly to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they would love it. There's so many people who is stuck in both parts of the world. There's parents who are eager to see their children from Sri Lanka. At the same time, there's parents who are stuck here in Melbourne who wants to go back. So it'll help both ways, and it'll be great. I mean, ability to travel, nothing like it. Even we haven't traveled for 9 months, so it'll be the same thing.
So it's good. It's a breath of fresh air.
Of course.
That's good. Right.
Great, Navin. Why is the Australian property market so attractive to foreigners?
So this was your first question from the viewers?
Yes, this is my first question from the viewers.
Okay. All right. So Australian property market has been pretty strong for the past, 50, 60 years. It's one of the strongest property markets in the world. The reason for that is, if you really look at it, there's only 25 million people in the country. And the population growth is about 1.9%, which is over 150,000 people are migrating to Australia every single year. As long as people are moving in, people need houses to rent and then to buy. And you simply cannot go wrong with property when there's such a vast population growth. And it's a very stable economy. Even during COVID, it was quite evident. It's a resilient economy and it's a stable country. It was, especially Melbourne and most of part of Australia, about 4 cities were part of the top 10 cities to live in. So, it's a combination of everything, and it's a very stable environment and it's a very stable economy for investments. Stability would be the key, I think, and population growth.
Wow, super.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other questions that we had received, since we're on the same subject, is whether a residential property can be used for commercial purposes. This is something that we've got a couple of times.
Yeah.
As a question. So is that a yes?
That is not a yes. You cannot do that. There's, especially if it's a residential zone, there are some people who gets a permit and do run something like a small office, like a conveyancing office, or it can be a salon, hair salon, using their garages. But then again, you need to get a permit from the council to run that. So not every location would be entitled to that. But there's special commercial zones where if you want to run a shop, or if you want to do a restaurant, or if you want to do some other business, there's specific commercial areas and commercial buildings, commercial shops where you can run your commercial businesses. If you want to do something from a residential home, you need a permit. Again, depending on the businesses and what sort of business you need to run, you need a permit. So you cannot simply use a residential for commercial purposes.
Okay. Talking about permits, is it a rather difficult process in getting a permit, or?
No, it's not difficult. It's quite straightforward, but you need to meet the criteria. They always go through the guidelines. If it's a residential zone and if it's impacting other residents, it's a definite no.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
But yeah, it all depends on the location.
Okay, right. Okay.
It's obviously good to know. And another question we received was, what are the basic things a client should know when selecting a location for their investment?
Location is the key, I would say. Location is all we are looking for. But in terms of when we propose a location to our investors, what we look for is close to the amenities. When I say amenities, supermarkets, schools, childcare centers, playgrounds, parks, because when you rent the property out, it has to be convenient for the tenants to go out to all these amenities. At the same time, we are also looking at infrastructure development projects, things like the roads, bridges, shopping center development, train stations. Especially close proximity to train station is a very, very important factor because most of the people use public transport. Close proximity to buses or trams, depending on the location, and close proximity to universities, hospitals, all these, it's a combination of everything. Airport. So all these, again, we look at the future as well as the present situation where what are the amenities involved and what are the development projects involved in selecting a location.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
That's true. Also, Naveen, one of the other questions that we had got was, what is the insurance we give the client once they've purchased the property?
Yeah, in terms of insurance, we always get them to do a building insurance so that the insurer, in terms of the construction or the house, is secured from any thefts, any natural disasters, or any damage to the property.
Right.
And we also get our landlords to get something called a landlord insurance, which means they will be secured from any rental defaults from the tenants. Now, this differs from a house to an apartment or a townhouse. Apartments and townhouses has something called owners corporation, which is like a body corporate or a condominium, which manages the common areas of the property. It can be swimming pools, lifts, or even a simple driveway. There is owners corporation which is formed to manage that. The fee which the landlords pay to this owners corporation includes the building insurance. So your building is covered, but still we need to get the landlord insurance.
Right.
Landlord insurance is a very important factor, especially from an investment point of view. Anything can happen. I mean, we vet our tenants so well, but then again, there is the 2% chance that someone might not pay. And then there is a process in place which we take action on. But then again, if there's a loss of rent, they'll be covered. And also, if there's any damages to the property, and if we cannot cover from the bond we take, again, landlord insurance will kick in. So those are the two insurances we use for our clients.
All right. Thank you. I think that should have answered the question very well.
Yes, Naveen. Last week you spoke about the grants given from the government. So are the grants applicable to the foreigners as well?
Unfortunately, no. It's mainly to boost the economy, boost the local economy. All the grants, there's a benefit of about $50,000 to $60,000 if you accumulate everything, which includes the federal grants, the state grants, as well as the stamp duty concessions. It is only valid for locals. Some of it is valid for citizens only, and some of it is for permanent residents, but not for foreigners.
Okay, Naveen.
It's bad news, but that will it will also create some urgency for all investors because there's so much of demand because of these grants, as you can imagine. $50,000 to $60,000 is a lot of money for first time someone who's buying a property, and people are jumping on it.
Well, that's good to hear.
So if that means the property value could go up, Naveen?
It could. The way it's going right now, it should. In the next 12 months, the property market will be on the upward trends.
Okay.
That's great. So we've just received a question by Mr. Tennakon. He has asked, would owning properties or say multiple properties help in migration?
Yeah, so that's a very common question by especially overseas investors. Unfortunately, there's no one-to-one relationship between buying a property and the permanent residency. Having properties, one or many properties, will help you to get the migration because it shows that you have interest in the country, but it will not get you the PR. You have to go through a skill migration process or the business migration process for you to obtain the PR. Having a property will not qualify you to get the PR. But in Canberra, when you buy a property, you get 5 points towards your migration, but then again, you have to have all the other required points. So again, as I said before, it will help, but it will not get you the PR.
Okay, right. That's really good. So speaking of Canberra, how does investments work in Canberra? Do people opt to invest in Canberra more often than in Melbourne?
Canberra, yeah, it's known as a dead city by most Australians, but it's there's so much of potential because the average salary of a person in Canberra is almost the double of Melbourne. Average salary in Canberra is about $85,000 per annum, whereas Melbourne it's 45 to 50,000.
Wow.
So the affordability is high, and also there's a clear undersupply because there's lack of lands. From Canberra, from north to south, you can travel in about 35-40 minutes, whereas in Melbourne it might take 1.5 hours. So it's and the land is totally owned by the government. There's a scarcity of land and there's so much of demand because of that. And the other benefits of investing in Canberra is the stamp duty is only 2.1%, and that will be the same for foreigners. There's no surcharge of foreigners like all the other states.
That is actually pretty good news. That's really good.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely, lovely.
Yes, obviously, this news would help for who are planning for migrations as well.
Yes.
And this is from one of our clients, Naveen. Are there any restrictions on the number of properties a foreigner can invest?
No, there's no. You can invest 1 or you can invest 100.
Oh,
that is good news.
There's no restriction at all, as long as the properties are brand new.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
So as we talked about this before, there's a body called Foreign Investment Review Board, which is the government authority, part of the government. You got to get the approval for each and every property you invest in. You cannot get the approval for one and think that the other 10 he's planning to buy will cover it. Each and every property requires an approval. But as long as that approval is granted, as long as the property is brand new, you're good to go.
Okay, great.
That's good. That's really good to know. So another general question that we've received is, does the stamp duty apply to existing clients, existing investors?
Foreign investors?
Yes.
Yeah, so foreign or local, it doesn't matter. Each and every property you buy, you have to pay stamp duty.
Okay.
Foreigners have to pay a higher stamp duty, unfortunately, in most states, except for Canberra. But even as a local, if you buy a property, you have to pay stamp duty.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to clarify something, that a few clients are in the mindset that this isn't the best time to invest right now. So what would be your advice to them?
It is definitely the best time to invest right now, because it will be on the upward trend. There's so much of developments happening right now, and that will be definitely a good time to invest, because sorry, my daughter was disturbing me. Yeah, so in terms of the grants, this will definitely boost. The purpose of the grants was to boost the economy, and that's exactly what is happening. So a lot of people are jumping onto it, and then that will definitely drive up the market. And if you also look at from a local point of view, during COVID, there was about 3-month period where people couldn't move. And even the local market, I'm talking about the established suburbs, there's so much of demand for auctions, there are private sales. There's people are queuing up to buy. Just to give you an example, in a developing area, we had a land release last week with 25 lands. There were 192 people queued up for that release. So that will give you an indication of what sort of a demand there is, because everyone wants to grab the opportunity to claim the grants.
Absolutely. Right. Speaking of investing, Navin, so Perth has become a hotspot for investments right now. How would this benefit any of our investors? Would you mind telling us a bit more about this?
Yeah, definitely. That's right. So Perth is definitely in the spotlight right now because Perth is really performing well when there's a mining boom. And as we speak, there's so much of demand for coal, there's so much of demand for iron ore, as well as nickel and gold. One might ask why nickel? You would have heard one of the news, Japan is moving towards 100% battery operated cars or hybrid cars by 2030. And there's a strong drive towards it. And then most of the other countries will follow. And all these batteries as well as electric cars will have to use nickel. And Western Australia is loaded with natural resources, including nickel. There's so much of demand. So I was in touch with one of the mining companies recently, and they said it's going gangbusters in terms of the demand for nickel and gold, which is really good news. And the affordability in Western Australia is so high. You can get in about 40-minute drive, 35 to 40-minute drive, you can buy a property, 3-bedroom, overlooking the beach for about $390,000, just to give you some perspective.
That's really good news.
Oh, great. And Navin, while we're talking about properties, I would like to know how is Christmas looking like this year? Since Melbourne is COVID-free, are people out and out leading their daily lives?
Yeah, people are out and about, and I mean, in terms of the crowd, it will be less, as you can imagine. People are still cautious, but there's decorations around, and I mean, it will be in a low scale, obviously, but people are enjoying themselves, and I mean, they are eating out. Everything is back to normal. Everything is back to normal, which is great news.
That's actually good news. So have schools started, or are they in the middle of summer holidays?
Yeah, some of the schools have started, and
Right.
some of the schools are still going on. So most of the private schools have stopped for the semester, but
Right.
most of the public schools are still going on. I think they are getting holidays next week.
Oh, that's good. So they'll be home. Right. So I am going to open questions to see if anyone would like to ask us any questions. We are open.
Yeah, we have a question from Mohammed Mushtaq.
Yeah.
How will it work? Because we are an agent too. Yeah, I mean, we are open for agents. We work collaboratively with other agents. Wherever you are, you can contact us on info@gritproperty.com.au or any of our Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or or LinkedIn, any of our social media channels. We are more than happy to have a look at it. We don't work with every agent, but we are more than happy to collaborate if it is the right fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So any other questions?
Yes, I can see another one. What is going to happen during Christmas and New Year? Is the market going to slow down? That's a good question. Historically, things will slow down because everyone will be on the shutdown mode starting next week until possibly first week of January.
Okay.
So things will slow down. Most companies are running on skeleton staff, and most companies will close business for at least 2 weeks, taking a break, enjoy themselves, and then re-energize and come back. So naturally, things will slow down. But then again, for another part of buyers, that's the quiet time they need, and they are really capitalizing on investments. So, but majority of the people will be very slow, and they're just enjoying themselves and taking a break.
Okay.
Well, that's good. I think it's better to be safe and stay a little indoors rather than be exposed during this time.
Yes, Nancy.
All right. So I think we've come to the end of yet another great session with Ask Grit. And Navin, so for this month we'll be done, and we'll be coming with a new segment starting January.
Yeah, so we will be taking a break for these sessions as well. we'll be back again in the first week of Jan.
With all new set of questions.
Yeah.
Full ready to ask.
Feel free to ask any questions,
Ask
send in
and
questions, and then we are going to collect everything and we're going to publish it again.
We'll be ready to
Purpose is
answer all of it.
Add as much as value as possible for audience, and that's what we are here to do.
Yeah.
Yes, Naveen. Thank you very much for your valuable time and
thank you so much.
Answers. Thank you, Naveen.
Happy New Year, happy Merry Christmas to the audience.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes,
we're looking forward to seeing you in the New Year.
Yeah. All right.